Hey guys,
Hey, Brian.
what's uh what's a windmill's favorite genre of music?
Oh, no. You're not going to do a Miles joke, are you? You are. You totally are. I don't know, Brian. What is a windmill's favorite genre of music?
They're really big metal fans.
Oh, I saw this joke
Boom,
somewhere.
psh.
Yep. All right, that's it. I don't know why that joke makes me so happy. You guys ready? Let's do this.
Yeah, sure.
This is PSVR Gamescast Live, where we film live every single Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern. We do it live here on YouTube for your viewing pleasure, but our good friend RidePop uploads to some podcast services of your choice, because we also care about your oral pleasure. Also, if you're watching live and you're like, get to the fucking point, just chill. Come back in a few hours after our good friend, Rody the Gamecat General, puts timestamps into the show. My name is Brian Paul from this channel right here, PSVR Without Parole. And joining me this week to my right, it's AJ from the Underground. PSVR Underground.
What is up, Brian? What is up, Wes? What is up, Game Cats? Happy West J, guys. Let's go.
No love for
Hell
Brian.
yeah.
And on the far right-hand side of the screen, it's Wes Dillon from our sister channel. Let's bet you all strangers. Wes Dillon, I don't know how I said that. Wes, what's going on?
It's Wednesday, man. I'm back. Like, it felt a little weird not to be here last week, when you guys were all having fun and talking VR, and I'm just sitting here talking to a screen. So,
I felt the opposite. I was like, man, I'm so glad I get to just chill out and watch and not have to do work after work again.
Yep. Some people like being here, and some people are AJ. Amazing. AJ, did you, am I correct? You posted something on Reddit today? Is this correct?
No?
No, I'm just lying there. Did you post about B-Haptics somewhere?
Oh, yeah, I posted on Twitter. Yeah.
On Twitter. Same Twitter, Reddit. It's all fucking filth. It's all the same shit.
Oh, yeah, I think I saw what you're talking about. I think my post got posted on Reddit.
Okay. Yeah. See, I don't follow you, and I don't go on Reddit. So this was all.
Which is why I love you.
Well, okay. Listen, I follow you, but I've also got you muted. So it makes you happy, and it also makes me happy.
I love it. It's a win-win. Everybody wins here. Yeah.
Fun. So talk to me, man. What were you posted about B-Haptics? What was the deal?
Well, I first found out that PSVR2 is getting B-Haptic support from our good buddy over there, Wes's good buddy Eric Masher. What is it?
Q2C VR
Q2C
gamer.
VR gamer. I think it was after a convention you guys went to or something. He had posted that B-Haptics was coming to PSVR2, and then Breachers was getting support. And then we found out later that they were going to send us some to get ready for PSVR2 getting haptic support, and yeah, man. So we know that Breachers is there, and there's also another game that is. It's an announced game. It's a game that's already on PSVR2.
The trailer's already playing. I ruined it for you 10 minutes ago.
But it's not. But it's not announced to have B-Haptic support just yet. So I haven't said anything.
Well, then I probably shouldn't be playing the trailer then.
Yeah.
This is just a coincidence.
You guys are really bad at this. You know that?
I did nothing. I said nothing. I'm good at this because nobody knew until I think maybe Brian just spoiled something.
Listen, I meant to put the Breachers trailer up. I don't know what you're talking about. There.
So allow me to send our heartfelt gratitude to the good people at B-Haptics, which have in fact supplied all of us with review kits for the X40 tack suit, as well as the I think it's called Tackosity, the arm attachments, and we're going to be testing those out as more and more games, and there are games coming that on PSVR2 they're going to support this, and we look forward to letting you know how the implementation is.
Yeah, mine's looking real good in those boxes they shipped them in. Still
Right.
sealed up over there in the corner. I am working on a massive accessories video though, so that's going to take some time to do. I've actually had to get a model to come in here so I can take photos and film somebody else wearing all this shit. And so it's going to take some time to get all that extra footage in and do the writing, the scripting of all these accessories. But B-Haptics will definitely be part of that. Looking forward to checking it out.
I feel like we've got a breachers stream in our near future, because not only do we need to get in and try out these tack suits, but we still got pro tubes that we need to test out as well.
Yep.
And might as well kill two birds with one stone, right?
Dude, I got a Vader 1 around here that needs to be tested out, a pro tube. I've still got a grip to putter that I haven't taken out of the box. There's a lot of accessories. Dude, I've had a globular cluster for 6 months, I think. I haven't taken that out of the box or installed it yet. So there's a lot of shit that needs to happen around here.
Yeah. But we can't really, we're not going to be talking about, we can't really talk about like PSVR 2 side of things just yet, Brian, on on the B-Haptic suit. But but I've been testing it with a lot of PC stuff. So I have more to share on that tomorrow on Interactive Chat. I gotta have something to do on that channel.
Wait, are you saying you're holding back information?
I gotta do more testing.
Yeah.
And I might be holding back a little bit.
You're
Just going to
so
be talking
full of
about
shit.
PC stuff anyway, man. Like,
No, I will say there, I didn't know much about this vest or anything. I did have a holy shit moment though. And yeah, so I'm going to do I want to do a deep dive, like talk all about it. So we don't have that kind of time here. We're on a tight schedule. Brian keeps us nice and tight, don't you, Brian?
You know how I like it.
Tune in tomorrow, 6:30 Eastern.
Yeah, if you're not already subscribed to AJ and Wes, what the fuck are you doing with your lives? But the links both these guys' channels in the description below. It's also front and center on the Without Parole channel. So if you happen to forget, every time you scroll through my videos, you should see their faces. The Gamecat Andrew Ehrenreich with the $5 tip says, "Blue Knees is real. Blue Knees is real. Blue Knees is real. But the cake is a lie. Fucking loved Madison, but have to replay to understand the story better." Dude, we need to do that Madison spoiler cast. I really want to do that because
Yes.
I just want an excuse to talk about Madison more.
Yeah, I want all four of us to do that too.
yeah, we could even do that. I mean, we could do it on a regular GamesCast. We would just have to end the episode with it and be explicit that, hey, we're spoiling the story here for those of you who haven't played yet. But yeah, I'm down for that. Definitely.
We also have a top 25 debate coming up as well. Everyone's been asking when's the next top 25 list happening. We're gonna have a debate. We just got to find out when the right time is for everybody. We weren't intentionally holding off for Stride Fates. Like I was ready to do it last week. But as it turns out, Stride Fates probably won't be part of this conversation anyway. Professor Lilith with the $5 tip says, Hi, Professor Lilith. The Sunday's multiplayer at 2 p.m. Eastern is now posted. This is the poll. Choose among Hellsweeper VR, No Man's Sky, and Firewall Ultra. The poll closes at Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern. Hellsweeper,
Firewall.
No Man's Sky, and Firewall. I know, right? Better play Firewall while you can.
Yeah, I've been wanting to jump into that actually. Like I was getting ready to jump back into the game before they shut down. So, because I heard, I was like waiting for updates because obviously the game launched in like a completely broken state. But I was like waiting. I was like waiting and waiting patiently, and then they just shut it down. So I've heard it is improved from what it was, but so just out of curiosity, I almost would jump into some Firewall on Sunday for that.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, the biggest issue with Firewall Ultra was matchmaking. Public matchmaking. So if you're going in there with friends and you don't have to worry about any of that, then I'm willing to bet that you're going to have a pretty solid experience in Firewall Ultra. I had fun in it. I didn't try to do public very often, but the few times that I went in there and played private, it was a good time.
Although I wouldn't be surprised if, so I just ordered some lenses for my PSVR1. And I would almost be curious to jump into Firewall 0 Hour, which was amazing, and just try it with that, and just go have fun. You know, the matchmaking was a critical issue for Firewall Ultra, but really, there's so many other issues like the non-immersive immersive features.
Sure, yeah, the eye track stuff was terrible. The grenade throwing. But even worse, I mean, the game would just, freeze and crash in the middle of a round. You go in with friends and suddenly they're on the opposing team or not with you at all. Like it was, like you were saying, the matchmaking was terrible. You want to go play with friends. And when your friends disappear, that sucks. Living Legend. Nope. Yep. I was right. Living Legend with the Canadian $5 tip says, Happy West J, Gamecats. Brian, if PSVR2 is to go RIP, will your channel name change to Retro Without Parole? LOL. I hope that won't be the case anytime soon. No, I already have a retro channel. It's Without Parole Retro. That is, that's a thing, man. Click the link in the description below. Most of you guys know that my Poly Mega showed up a couple months ago, and I've been just like ripping games to it constantly. Like I've got literally installed over 1,000 games on my Poly Mega now. And definitely want to do a live stream. We want to do some Neo Geo CD games. I want to do some Sega Genesis games. Dude, I'm like discovering new Sega Genesis games. Shen Miaozo out there was like, you got to play Sword of Vermilion, and I was like, okay. Just I don't know if he wants me saying this publicly, but Shen Miaozo, I DM'd him. I was like, this is your fault, and I showed him a picture of me playing Sword of Vermilion. And he's like, dude, I went to jail 5 times in my life, and not completing Sword of Vermilion is the thing I regret the most. So I hope you don't mind me sharing that. I probably should ask people these things before mentioning on the show. Ben Schroeder with the $5 tip says, finished Propagation Paradise Hotel last night. Another great recommendation from Without Parole. Notice he didn't say PSVR Underground. He said Without Parole.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure. At least I've got PSVR in my name.
Hey, I mean, look at my name tag. I have PSVR in my name too. I'm just slowly wiping it from the rest of the internet.
That being said, Propagation Paradise Hotel.
So good.
Fantastic.
And $20, dude. $20. Yeah. The level of polish that's on that game for a $20 game, you look at something like The Murder of Sherlock Holmes. That is just a fucking joke. It's a joke of a game. It is a joke of a runtime. It is a joke of everything. And they're charging $20 for it. Then you can get Propagation for $20. Crazy.
Yeah. Propagation, Hubris. These are like these perfect, like smaller $20 games that
Isn't Hubris 30?
You like to see. I think it is, but it goes on sale a lot.
Okay. That's fair.
Speaking of which, AJ, I just had a great idea for something that you and I can do together and test out these B-Haptics vests. You need to check out the original Propagation on Steam VR.
Oh yeah, it's free, right?
It's free to play single player, $10 to play co-op, but I'll gift it to you if you want to play it.
Interesting. I didn't know.
And it does support the B-Haptics vest. So
there's a lot of stuff on the PC side. There's a lot of stuff you would never have known, at least in our little PSVR bubble. You would never know that many games had like support for the haptics vest. So pretty cool stuff.
It's easy to implement. That their SDK is pretty simple. So that bodes well for PSVR 2 gamers that are looking to get one of these vests, because I do expect that there will be wide support for it on PlayStation the same way that there is on Steam.
Dino, the middle-aged mutant ninja Gamecat. Do you know middle-aged mutant ninja Gamecat? Do you know middle-aged ninja Gamecat? Do you know middle-aged mutant ninja Gamecat? Do you know we're in a half shell? Feet on power. Okay, I'm just gonna leave and let you guys do the show.
Brian has no filter today.
Most days. Dude, no, I will tell you, not doing this 3 days a week really throws me off. I'm like, when it's time to do it, I'm just like, I feel so unprepared. It was just I felt like I was doing Gamescast Live more often than I wasn't doing Gamescast Live when we were doing this 3 days a week. Now it's just like, I don't know what the hell to do when we show up. Dino, the middle-aged mutant ninja Gamecat, with the 10 quid says, hey, Brian, AJ, and Wes, I played Madison for the first time ever, and it was so worth the wait. Absolutely terrifying.
Hell yes, it was. Oh,
1000%.
see, that just goes to show, like, yeah, any game, games should just sometimes straight face should just be delayed when they're not ready, because when they wait and delay themselves, straight face. Excuse me.
You
it's
need a
awesome,
cough
man.
drop?
Yeah, excuse me. Sorry.
Great. All right, guys, we always thank all the cats out there who support the channel and show up for all the live streams and shit. But at the beginning of every Gamescast, we got to thank a whole nother group of cats, don't we, AJ?
That's right, Brian and Wes. We'd like to thank those who support us in another way by changing your name to something Gamecat related, or something Gamecat adjacent, as you at something Gamecat adjacent like to say. By the way, shout out to Gamecat Adjacent, who I've seen, who pops up in my streams from time to time, and I'm like, it's you. This week, we have 4 new Gamecats, so welcome to the Gamecat Dojo. Starting with Random Toxie, the fuel mapping downshifting Gamecat.
Bing! Really testing how many characters we can fit on the screen here.
I'm just going to assume that's a Gran Turismo reference, which I've still been playing nonstop.
Good.
So good.
Very happy to hear it.
We've also got Give Me My Cape and Goggles Gamecat.
Bing!
I like this one.
Cape and goggles.
Yeah.
Why am I not getting the reference?
Is it a McVeigh reference? My eyes, the goggles do nothing. Maybe Fallout Boy will save me now. You don't remember that? That's so funny.
I get nothing.
Oh,
Yeah.
Anyways.
I'm sorry.
We've also got DL Gonzo VR Geezer Gamecat.
Bing! Excellent.
Is that a reference to Gonzo journalism? Some Fear and Loathing?
I mean, maybe, or maybe just the Muppet character Gonzo.
Also, Gonzo's been around for a while.
Yeah.
Finally, last but certainly not least, gentlemen, we have unclog_my_gamecat_backlog.
Bing!
What's your guys' backlog looking like right now?
Pretty much the whole PSVR2 catalog.
Wes is about to have a stroke.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It's really bad. Because like Brian, pretty much the whole PSVR2 catalog, and then there's Unreal Universal VR Injector, which is another 1,000+ games to play. It's endless. It's literally endless.
Yeah. It's time.
Let's keep it endless.
Yeah. We're to the point where it's just time to like kind of throw in the towel, not try to get caught up. Just be like, hey, what's interesting this week that we want to cover? Hey, so somebody commented and said, hey, where's the Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted 2 review? I was like,
God.
I was like, oh yeah, that's an excellent point. I was like, well, if I don't find time by October, definitely October.
Yeah, that is a good point. This is the first time I've had a backlog in a long time, in years.
Yeah.
And yeah, you mentioning Five Nights at Freddy's, I'm like, geez, like I was really excited for that. And I've only played it once. Like it was good too. And I've only played it like once briefly.
I mean, I hope they patch it to make it look and play as well as the as the PSVR2 remaster of Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted 1, because they remastered that. I think it was running at like 90 native. I mean, it ran smooth and felt smooth and looked great. And then like Help Wanted 2 comes out and it was like, well, wait, why doesn't this isn't doing much more than Help Wanted 1 was? Like, why does it look so much worse? So in my head, I'm hoping that they can kind of fix that shit before I get back to it, make it look and play better. Because I don't want to play it the way it looked. I even think there were tracking problems. Like it felt like I was playing a PSVR 1 game. I was like, why isn't my
Yeah, it wasn't the greatest looking, but it was still cool.
Yeah. Guys, if you're wondering what the hell we just did, we just gave a shout out to all the people who changed their name to Gamecat this week over on YouTube/Google. If you love us almost as much as we love you, make sure you change your name and then put hashtag Gamecat in the comments below any Without Parole video. So AJ, if he's here next week, I don't fucking know the schedule yet, can give you a shout out in next week's show. It is you next week.
No, I'm not supposed to be here next week.
Oh.
But I might be. Who knows?
I don't understand the schedule. So.
It could happen.
It could happen.
It might happen.
It'll be me. It'll be me or a special guest. Let's put it that way.
If Ryan from the VR Grid is listening, pencil it in. Let's see. Tackle a couple more tips. We got JPEG Q with a $3 tip saying Tiger Blade is on sale in the US for $12.50. Is it worth it?
Tiger Blade, $12.50?
Yeah.
I'd say yes. For for an arcade game.
Yeah, it didn't.
Do you like arcade games?
How long did it take you? Does it take to get through it once? It's pretty fast, right? Like 45 minutes.
Probably more like an hour or two, maybe.
Okay. I played for like 20, 30 minutes and it did not grab me yet. And that's a significant part of a 1 to 2 hour game. I just didn't, I didn't get into the flow state. I didn't get into a rhythm with it at all. And it just wasn't exciting to me. I'm sure if I got back in there and gave it some more time, maybe I'd understand what's going on a little bit better.
It's not the first thing I'd recommend on the sale, but I enjoyed it. And yeah, I think if you like arcade games, it's like Time Crisis with ninjas.
Okay. Yeah, it's actually what it felt like to me. I'd rather play Time Crisis though. DJ Dirty Yellow with the $2 tip says, "Why did you originally name the channel Without Parole?" It was supposed to be like when Mike Zeller and I were talking back in the day and trying to figure out a good name for the channel, a good name for the podcast that we were starting, and Without Parole, it was like we were both obsessed, like completely obsessed with collecting retro games, buying new games, playing everything. And it was sort of, the idea was sort of that it was like more than a hobby, more than an addiction. It was like a life sentence. And so Gaming Without Parole was the initial podcast name. And then Without Parole just became the channel name. So yeah, life sentence of gaming till death. No chance of parole. Parasite 82 Green with the 5 quid says, "After binge watching Master of the Air this week, I really can't wait for Aces of Thunder. Any further news on a release date?" Haven't heard anything. I haven't been keeping close tabs on Gaijin Entertainment or anything like that, but I haven't heard any news. I don't think, have you guys?
In like January, February, something, they said that they're, testing it and finishing it up and whatnot. So I don't know. I'm expecting it to come out this year. Probably within the next few months, I'd imagine. Be interesting if we see that at the all but confirmed showcase this month.
Yeah. I mean, I really do think that I said this on the last GamesCast. I think we were talking about showcase predictions. I was like, dropping a game saying, "Oh, and it's available right now." If they come up with like a new trailer and show off some of the VRF features or whatever, then and they say, "Oh, and it's available right now." I don't know if it's a game changer for PSVR2, but it's certainly open a few eyes and go, "Oh, damn." Because people keep saying Sony's not supporting PSVR2. As far as we know, this is likely funded by Sony and an exclusive for PSVR2 for the time being. So like, and this is the style of game that a lot of people are looking for. So, oh yeah, Sony's not supporting PSVR2, but here comes a amazingly realistic flight sim exclusive. Exactly.
Well, I don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if. It's definitely. It may be just like an online only multiplayer, flight dogfighting game, which is fine. People seem to really like Star Wars Squadrons for the same reason, and yeah, it looks really good. I hope it's really good because it would scratch that itch. Flight, realistic dogfighting is an exceptional experience in VR. It's kind of one of those things that I feel like this is what VR is made for.
Right.
And yeah, so. I'm down for them taking as much time as they need, as long as it comes out good.
Yeah.
I think we'll all be happy.
I think was it December or January? They were saying the game's we're wrapping up development. It's running at 90 native, and they were showing some VRAF mechanics, like showing that you do have two hands in the game. That's not not dual sense only, and like you're opening like the windows and pulling throttles and shit.
I thought that was like end of January.
Yeah,
is what I remember.
So I mean, that's still like Jesus Christ, January, February, March, April, May, June, like 5 months ago. It's like, what are you even doing for 5 months? Part of me is like, oh, it's probably been done, and they're just like holding it back for like a cool, big announcement release type thing.
I hope they've just still been working on it.
I mean, yeah,
could just be polishing it. Could be something similar to what we saw with Madison, where it was good enough to release a couple months ago, but that they just keep on making it better and better. Who knows?
Yeah, I want them to take their time. Too many of these 1 year dev cycle games end up being really shallow on content. I need to see more, like, for sure.
agreed.
Unless it's a VR port of a flat game or something.
Yeah, I agree. Hey guys, don't forget you can go join us over on Discord. Click the link in the description below. Be a Discord member, hang out, shoot the shit. I hang out there 24/7 while I'm working. And you can leave viewer takeover questions in the viewer takeover channel. That's a way to get your comments, your questions on the show without spending a fucking penny. It's the way we like it. Just like Belramio did, he writes hashtag viewer takeover. Do we really need DFR, dynamic foveated rendering, in every game? I know it's improving visual quality, enabling better frame rates, etc. But can games convince even without it nowadays? And then he posted a screenshot of like a conversation that happened on Twitter or somewhere where people were like, if it doesn't have DFR, I'm not fucking buying it. Do you think that's a legit statement? Do you think that's something that is? Do you think we should expect every game to have dynamic foveated rendering at this point?
I think that it's a good rule for life in general to avoid absolutes. And saying that I'm going to always do something or never do something is typically a bad idea, because you're going to find out pretty quickly that there are always exceptions. It does seem to be fairly necessary for most games that are going for a kind of photorealism. But even that has its exceptions as well. But there are other games, great games, that aren't going for photorealism, that are like more cartoony or cel shaded, and those games seem to be able to hit 90 native fairly easily without it. So I wouldn't say that that's a hard and fast rule that people should follow. I think that people should wait until games release. They should never pre-order, and they should wait for trusted reviewers to tell them if a game is quality or not quality, and regardless of whether or not it supports dynamic foveated rendering.
Yeah, I think it's kind of silly to boycott a game for not having it, but every game that we've seen have dynamic foveated rendering does look improved over, like, it does look exceptional in most cases. So I understand why, people want it, or why we should advocate for as many games as possible to have it, because it does make a significant difference. But also, I think having maybe just some kind of foveated rendering, maybe it doesn't have to be eye track foveated rendering, but even some kind of foveated rendering is good, because there's just, it looks better where you're focusing on.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it just depends on the game for me. Like if a game looks good and they manage to do it without, if it's running at 90 native and it's not using DFR and it looks good, I'm like, well, great. Like, you've done it. You made a good looking game. I really, it bums me out a little bit that we've gotten to this point in gaming history where, like, we know damn fucking much as the developers do, right? Like,
Right.
where it's like we know terms, we know how things are running, we know what engine everything's on, we know what different engines are capable of. Like, it's just like, man, it used to be so much fun to be a gamer, and now it's like you gotta. I almost feel like when we were in the dark and we were less educated about how games were made and the different things that different engines were capable of, it was more fun. And now here we are, and we're like judging everything based on terms that not everybody's even fucking familiar with, like the actual meanings of. And so I don't know. I hate conversations like this because I want to play the game and be like, oh wow, this looks good, and not have to worry about, but does it also use DFR? No, I just want it to look good. And developers are going to be capable of doing that, sometimes with and sometimes without DFR. So
yeah, I mean, personally, I would like every game to just flip a switch and have it for sure. Like, why wouldn't you want that?
I want every game to look as good as possible, for sure.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But like Genotype doesn't use dynamic foveated rendering, and it's running at 120 native, and it's running it's super sampled and blah blah blah, the whole thing, and it's not using DFR.
That's impressive.
Yeah,
because that looks pretty good. Yeah, that is impressive.
Like, it's literally not gonna what I'm trying to say about Genotype specifically. It's that it's not gonna look better with DFR. It's already running as good as it possibly can on PSVR 2.
Yeah. And I think the frame rate, the 90 native, is almost it's also equally important too.
Yeah. For people like me who are susceptible to reprojection, like, I do think at this point, because I'm going to notice the ghosting, I'm going to notice all that stuff, and so we've all got the things that are, that we're susceptible to. Like, dude, I played plenty of games. Like, we're going to talk about Thief Simulator a little bit later, but man, I played the beginning of that, and was just like blown away by how bad the frame rate was, how bad the reprojection was. And then I see responses from people saying, oh, I played it for like an hour today, I didn't even notice any frame drops. And I was like, okay, well then you are just not susceptible to recognizing that shit, because it's smeared right across the board, right? Like, there's no question about it. It's there, right? And so everyone's going to have their thing that they're susceptible to. And so, I'm not going to sit here and tell people that they're wrong for being like, I need dynamic foveated rendering because it's going to like do the thing that I need a game to do, right? But, I just want a game to look good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Phil's yup. There's no way I'd fucking pronounce that right. With the 5 euros says, so is Madison the scariest game ever, scientifically speaking?
Scientifically speaking, I mean, that's what they said.
Yeah, that's what they said. But I mean, like, after having played it in VR, let's talk about Madison VR specifically. Do you guys think it's the scariest game you've ever played in VR? Start with Wes. I want to know. I need to know.
Yes. Yeah, I do. Honestly. I don't know if it gave me like my single most intense scare that I've ever had, but it's the most consistently scary thing from start to finish that I've ever played. Like, there's never a moment in that game where you're comfortable. It feels like an evil game, and it's an evil house that you're in, and the spirits that are attacking you are really malevolent. And it's immersive, and I think that has a lot to do with it. I don't know if it would land the same with me. As a matter of fact, I know it wouldn't land the same with me coming through some sort of a panel or window. But in VR, with all the PSVR2 bells and whistles working together, it's terrifying. And I absolutely loved it. It's great.
I think I've got to agree. I mean, the debate was, is it scarier than RE7? And I think I'm with you. I think maybe Resident Evil 7 scared me more at the beginning because I was a brand new VR gamer. I'd only been playing PSVR 1 for 3 months at that point. But on top of it, it was pretty much scary, really scary at the beginning, and then kind of like faded off. Whereas Madison was scary the entire time. So talking about VR games specifically, games made for VR. We're not talking about any UEVR games. Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, probably the scariest VR game I've ever played. Maybe the scariest game I've ever played. Period.
I'll quickly just say it is easily one of the scariest games I've ever played ever. But the reason I don't say it's the is because I put it up there with like Resident Evil and PT a lot. Obviously PT is not like a side thing, but Resident Evil 7, they're different types of scary. Like Madison is very jump scary. And the things I loved about it also, it was just like a lot of the things that surprised me was like the storytelling of it, some of the psychological stuff behind it. Like it has like layers to it. And then like you have stuff that like Resident Evil 7, which was like stressful. It was like a stress scary. I didn't find Madison to be stressful, except for maybe one or two parts. But overall, it was just like, it was kind of shocking and thrilling, but then you kind of keep going, like it wears off quick. And it just like beats you down with that, versus Resident Evil 7, which was like thing. But I think the scariest game of all time, probably for me personally, is probably Alien Isolation. If that ever officially gets VR support, like I'm probably not going to make it through that.
It's funny you bring that one up because I was scared at the beginning of that game. It's very Resident Evil 7 for me. Like, eventually I get to the point where I was just like, oh, I'm going to beeline it to the next room and see if I can make it there. And if I die, then I'm going to try a different way to beeline it. And like, I would just run and stop being so cowardly and stop being so stealthy. Because once the horror vibe wore off for me, I was like, all right, I'm just going to experiment. And I wasn't scared about I wasn't scared of the xenomorph anymore.
Yeah, after it gets you a couple times, it kind of loses its effect in that game. This is a great game. Don't get me wrong, but the scare effect does wear off pretty quickly.
Yeah. It made me. But I will say, all of these games we're talking about here, some of my easily my favorite games of all time list.
Yeah,
for sure.
I agree with that, and I got to say, the comparison to PT is spot on because it does feel like that same type of horror to me. Like people have always kind of longed for that full game from PT, and this is that. I mean, the things that scared me about PT are in this game, but this is a full-fledged,
full
story
game,
campaign.
And it's replayable. I cannot wait to play. I'm kind of too scared, but I can't wait to replay it. But the only reason I haven't yet is just because it's so scary.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing it on hard. I immediately after I finished the game, I started another game right back up. Surprisingly, I did not think that was going to happen. And I can't wait to get through it. Also, I'm just jealous of anyone who has the Platinum Trophy already. I know at least one person in the chat has it already. All right, guys. Big news story of the week. PlayStation names Herman Hulst and Hideki Nishino as its new CEOs, as reported by GameIndustry.biz. It says Hulst will lead the studio business while Nishino takes charge of the platform side. This article is by Christopher Dring, and it's published May 13th. I'm going to read through it real quick. Feel free to stop me as we go if anything really jumps out, guys. Herman Hulst and Hideki Nishino will jointly succeed Jim Ryan as the CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment. Hulst is the CEO of the newly named Studio Business Group, which includes all of PlayStation's first-party teams, plus covers the development of PlayStation IP onto other mediums, such as TV and film. Hulst was already head of PlayStation Studios. He was previously the co-founder of Horizon and Killzone developer Guerrilla Games, which was acquired by Sony in 2005. I'm thrilled to lead the Studio Business Group and continue to build on our success with PlayStation 5 while preparing for the future, Hulst said in a statement. The video game industry is one of the largest entertainment industries in the world and has been built on the marriage of content and technology, and I look forward to continuing to push the boundaries of play and entertainment. Hideki Nishino will lead the platform business group, which includes console hardware, technology, accessories, PlayStation Network, and third-party relations, covering major publishers and indie studios. He was already SVP of Platform Experiences. He's been part of the Sony business since 2006, holding numerous roles at Sony Network Entertainment, Sony Corporation, and SIE. We'll continue to connect players and creators through world-class products, services, and technologies, Nishino said. We always strive to grow our community even bigger with innovation in every area at Sony Interactive Entertainment. I'm honored to be appointed such an important role alongside Herman. By working more closely together, we'll be positioned to build an incredible experience for ever-expanding audience now in the future. The article goes on, but I don't think we need to read the entire thing. AJ, what are your thoughts as the biggest Jim Ryan fan in the room? What are your thoughts on his successors?
It's not Jim Ryan. so
good enough.
So it was interesting that they appointed two CEOs here.
You think he screwed up so bad that's going to take two people to fix everything that happened?
Yeah, well, the truth is that that like PlayStation as a company is getting huge, and there's a lot of stuff to manage. There's basically 3 different worldwide regions to cover, and so it makes sense to have 2 different people kind of operating here that will report to Hiroki Totoki. And
you just like saying that.
But yeah, I've had my criticisms of Herman Hulst, but I think that is a lot of that stems from the VR side. I think I'm a big fan of promoting from within. I think that's a good idea, and I want to give both these guys a chance to see before I completely judge. But Herman Hulst, at least, unlike Jim Ryan and Hideki Nishino, they both have like a good track record with the company, and Herman has a good track record with building profitable games. Run like he's actually got. I am, from a consumer side, I am able to visibly see more business, like better business acumen from him than what I've seen from Jim Ryan. I'm sure Jim Ryan has his strengths as well as from a business standpoint, but I was against everything that he was doing over at PlayStation. I think for PlayStation, I do feel like Herman Hulst is a good person to have in this role. Like I said, he's got a good track record. And he, the one thing I will say that I'm a little bit concerned about him is when it comes to like what we're interested in, which is PSVR2. The good news is that I know like he does get into some of the hardware and side of things. He helped Guerrilla, him and along with company Guerrilla helped develop like the sharpshooter. Like I'm a big fan of these accessories like this, these immersive accessories. He helped develop the sharpshooter. I was a fan of that. And he's also made several really successful IPs. So the thing is like, if there's one thing I'd ask is like, I'd want him to just be a little bit more aware of what's going on with VR. And I'm hoping that he can kind of listen to the community a little bit, listen to what people are wanting, because I just feel like he's a little out of the loop as to perhaps what could be the best for, or what's, best for what's PlayStation VR2 needs. That concerns me a little bit and it's not because he doesn't care or like it. It's just because I just get this vibe that he kind of lacks experience, which is understandable, being that VR is over the last 10 years has really started to emerge, and there's a lot of development and things like that have come from it that are different than PlayStation. Like it's what PlayStation has currently been doing, but I hope he can deliver on that. Hideki Nishino, I feel a little bit more comfortable with. I love that we, have some control and support from the Japan side of things as well. And he obviously knows a great deal about VR. So I'm hoping this tandem can work together. It kind of remains to be seen as to how successful they will be, but I do think it's definitely an upgrade from Jim Ryan, and I'm just hoping for the best here with the results.
Wes, Hideki Nishino, I think everybody's familiar with, at least around here, because his name was always attached to every PlayStation blog article related to PSVR2. I think he actually worked on developing the thing. And so do you think that him being in a position of power is going to be good for, as AJ was referring to, like our side of things, the things that we're interested in, PSVR2 specifically?
I think that it's certainly possible. I mean, if we want to look at this as a glass half full, as an optimist, we are basically dealing with two guys here that have been very involved with PSVR2 in its short lifespan. We've got the guy that basically oversaw the finalization and launch of the headset and the platform, and then we have the other guy who basically oversaw the development of the first, and to this date still only first party VR exclusive on the platform, right? With Horizon coming from Guerrilla Games. Here's the thing. Well, there's a couple things. First of all, I think it's notable that Jim Ryan was dealt an incredibly tough hand. His tenure took place during what might have been the most challenging time for the gaming industry and its history since the early days when people were burying Atari games in landfills. The other thing that we need to really notice here is that this isn't really a change. Herman Holst is still over the things that he was over under Jim Ryan, and the same thing can be said for Nishino. So basically, the question is, how much was Jim Ryan holding those guys back during his tenure? Did they want to do things that he had to push back against and tell them no on? Did they want to champion PSVR 2 more and just to have Jim Ryan shut them down? If that's the case, then this could be great, because now they don't have to answer to him anymore. Instead of answering to Jim Ryan, they're now answering to what was essentially Jim Ryan's boss. But as far as like reorganizing and shaking things up, this is just the same. It's the same. They've just pulled Jim Ryan out of the chain and took the one line, erased it, and made two. And it's no different. I hope that it proves to be different. And again, a lot of the struggle that we've been seeing could have just been due to a lot of external factors that may not have all been on Jim Ryan and his fault and his failure of leadership. Only time will tell. But like you and everyone else, I do hope that this is the start of a new era for PlayStation and PlayStation VR2.
It's going to be really funny to watch the reactions, because like the heavily rumored, if all but definitely happening showcase that's right around the corner, this will be, people will be jumping up and down being like, oh, they finally showed this game, oh look, they showed a PSVR2 game, oh see, this is what happens when Jim Ryan's no longer in control. All of this shit is already, the gears were already turning.
Hope that's me.
It will be. It's like, that was my AJ impersonation. No. But I mean, it's going to take some time to see any real differences, because a lot of gears been moving, a lot of wheels been in motion for a very long time, and if anything you see over the next year, Jim Ryan still gets credit for, right? So I don't think we're going to see anything massively different. However, have it under good authority that PSVR 2 is not dead, and that there's still a lot of support at Sony, and still a lot of shit happening at Sony for PSVR 2 that hasn't been talked about yet. That was about as vague as I could be with that.
I hope there's a better, an improvement on the management of the studios, because that's been one of the hardest things to see. Is like Sony has always had a big reputation of, doing a great job of managing lots of studios. And that's something that, like I said, when it came to like Jim Ryan, like you see, instead of London studio, working on the remastering games for PSVR 2 or playing to their strengths, they were working on like it was kind of like this blanketed live service thing, and I get why Sony's trying to shift to that. Obviously, they're trying to increase their profit. They're even though Sony makes a lot of revenue, their profit margins are very slim, or at least could be much better. And the gaming industry is a very profitable place. I mean, the games industry makes more than music and movies industry combined, and so they should be, as a big company, yeah, you want to be focused on increasing your profits and everything like that. And one thing that killed me was like seeing just the mismanagement of some of these studios. I mean, I love Fire Sprite. I loved, yeah, all of them. I love Fire Sprite. I don't know if they'd be my first choice to hire on as a VR studio, though. I mean, there was just so many people out there that seemed like more talented, and and they're a big team. They're like 250 employees, and I don't know. What worries me is like, I'm excited to see what happens, but I just don't want to see them, like you said. I want to see some change. I don't want to see them keep making the same mistakes over and over. And it's kind of a two-parter, because part of that is just like, like what happened. Really, what I focus on is like what I'm interested in at this time, which is the VR stuff, which is obviously like a very small part of what's going on at PlayStation, but that's what we're here about. That's what we care about the most. So I really want to see that improve, and that would make me really happy if we see some major improvements to keep supporting VR too, and kind of staying with VR and letting it grow and helping it grow.
I agree, but I think that the PSVR2 problems are the PlayStation 5 problems. It's widespread. It isn't just contained to the PSVR2 platform. There's been severe mismanagement of the timing behind the development of games. Obviously, this is apparent in the lack of first party exclusives in general, not just for VR2, but for PlayStation 5 in general. That they've already told us not to expect anything major this year at all, and it's going to be spring next year before even flat gamers get another big blockbuster AAA title. That's pure mismanagement of the timing, right? Everything's locked up in development right now, and that could have something to do with the global problems that I was alluding to earlier. But it certainly seems like it could have been managed a little bit better here, and obviously the other thing that they could certainly improve at is marketing. It seems like marketing was pretty much non-existent under Jim Ryan, and even during like the PS3 era, where they were losing to Microsoft in a pretty big way, they were still pretty good about advertising their games and creating hype behind what's next. It seems like this era, nobody knows what's next. So I think that would be one of the biggest things that they could do to change immediately, is kind of open up the curtains a little bit and let people see what's coming.
Yeah. Chris Forthenberry's got a minor correction for you. He said they don't expect God of War, Spider-Man 2, or any other current major titles. I think I do think it was easy to kind of read into that and extrapolate different meanings from it. Everyone's like, "Oh, we're not getting any more AAA titles this year," but I do think the quote was something about like existing IPs, current IPs. I think we're going to see some new stuff that could fall under the AAA tentpole.
It's possible. Also, does that include something like Astrobot? Like, would you consider Astrobot being like a huge existing franchise?
I don't think so. I don't think anybody looks at. I don't think anybody looks at Astrobot and goes, "Yes, clearly one of Sony's tentpole games, flag post tentpole." Flagship. Nope, still not the one I was thinking of.
Flagship titles.
I mean, I understand flagship. That's not what I was trying to say. I'm just, yeah, dude. So I think, and I also don't think AAA is quite what we're looking at with Astrobot. So I do think we could see one this year.
Yeah, but I do like with the data that I've seen from Herman Hulst's track record. I like that he's done things that I can actually see that are positive, like the success of the Horizon series, the innovation side of things too, like like I said, helping with the sharpshooter and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, you mentioned that there's like a lack of first party thing. I mean, that if you think about it, when with Jim Ryan leaving, he also, as he left, London studio closed down. A Last of Us game. I mean, talk about mismanagement. The Last of Us multiplayer game was scrapped. A Twisted Metal game was scrapped. London studio closing. That is some horrible mismanagement. So with things that I've seen, and I'm not 100% sure, I've seen stuff like Herman Hulst visiting stuff like Media Molecule. Now, as much as I hate what has happened with Media Molecule, I mean, you do look at like what they produced, and from a business standpoint, there is kind of like, you can kind of explain or see a reasonable explanation why that would happen. It's horrible as much as it sucks. The last regime before Jim Ryan and whatnot, like Sean Layden and Shuhei and everybody, they did an amazing job making us happy, but they didn't always do the best job of making shareholders and profits happy and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see. And yeah, I want to be optimistic here. What kind of scares me is that, like I said, Herman Hulst seeing Horizon Call of the Mountain and thinking that that's good enough to like buy Firesprite. And obviously, Horizon is good. It certainly has its strengths, and a lot of people really like it. But to me, it's just like, it wasn't this system. It wasn't like the Half-Life Alyx of PSVR2, right? It didn't have anywhere near that effect that like a Half-Life Alyx did. And that's kind of what I would have liked to see. Something, although there are games of that quality, if not better quality on PSVR2, you wouldn't really know it. You don't hear people talking about it that way, right?
I zoned out. What are we talking about?
Anyways.
All right, guys, it is time to move on anyway. So real quick here, let's check in with the cats. Scroll. Mark with the $2 tip says, any news on a possible multiplayer update for Kayak? If you watched last week's PSVR this week, dude's wrapping up a big major patch. I think he had submitted to Sony and everything. He didn't say what it was going to entail, but we just know that major update. My guess would definitely be real-time multiplayer, maybe a few new maps. I'm hoping for some rapids, right? Because
speedboats. Give me a fucking speedboat, man.
In Kayak VR.
That'd be great. I would love it.
Rapids would be fun. Whatever it is, I just hope it's I want them to make it into a fun game. It's a wonderful tech demo. Now make it a fun game.
The Marvel Sod with $50 fucking says, given Sony's lack of advertising, it feels like a showcase would be the best place for them to announce game releases so they still don't have to advertise. The lack of advertising is disappointing. Stay awesome, everyone. I think the showcase is the best possible advertising they could do, right? Because not only is it way less expensive for them, but showcases they're cherished, man, by the community, and so not only is everybody tuning in and watching, 4 million people watching on PlayStation's US channel, and then millions watching on the European channel, and then more watching on the Australian channel, right? It's just like there's tens of millions of people watching this thing live on the official broadcast. But then on top of that, people tune into content creators. Like we're obviously going to stream a Sony showcase, and it's just it's the most effective free publicity they can get for any upcoming games. So I mean, listen, if they I would be totally fine if we never saw another commercial from PlayStation again, right? I mean, nothing I watch has commercials anymore anyway, right? I'll pay the extra $3 a month to make sure my Amazon account does not have commercials, right? And so taking that into account, just, promise us a few extra state of plays every year. I honestly think that we should have a state of play every quarter and then one showcase a year, right? Make that showcase your E3 event. And you get plenty of free publicity from that shit. As far as I'm concerned, anyway. I think commercials are outdated and losing steam.
Yeah, and for the record, when I say that they could do a better job of marketing and advertising, I'm not specifically talking about television and print advertising. Showcase, you're absolutely right. I would like to see 2 showcases a year and another like 4 state of plays, and a lot more focus on first party and second party titles. That's just me. I think that they have enough in the oven that they could do that successfully, as long as they're willing to show us games that are still a year out.
Yeah. Yeah, you can even get away with one showcase a year if it's a big summer event, something like, I think like Brian was kind of alluding to, something to replace that lack of E3 and then kind of disperse the rest of it throughout the year. Have a steady flow of just news updates, the other games coming out, give some attention to other people and use the showcase term as like the big, 1 year annual event. That's like a huge deal where like all eyes, it's like the Game Awards or something like that. You just, that's where you really shoot your shot there. And you could probably do it twice as well. I don't think that really matters a whole bunch unless you just run out of stuff to show too fast doing that, or kind of like getting its own way a little bit. But I think I'd love to see them increase their physical presence. Going to PAX was an eye-opener for me about the physical presence of video games and how fucking magical that can be. Seeing all those people there, just there to have fun, play games, socialize, see what's new. I would love to see, again, instead of having like, I would love to see like demo stations again. I don't see those anywhere I go anymore. I know it's a little bit more higher maintenance to have demo stations for VR. But I do think, everybody that I remember from first gen, every story I heard about how they got into VR was them going to a Best Buy and playing Eve Valkyrie, and that's what made them buy a VR. And I just would love to see that. I would love to see people go to have that physical presence again, where they go to a GameStop, they go to a game store or a Best Buy or a Circuit City. What year is it? And they have a demo station with Resident Evil or Gran Turismo, something to demo and something quality. I miss those days. That's literally how I've got it. Bought my first PlayStation was because I would go to Sears or Circuit City every single time my parents or something had to go and run errands. I would go with them, beg to go with them. They're like, why do you want to go to Home Depot? And I was like, I want to go to Circuit City next door. And I would just that's how I would get to play. And then eventually I saved up money and bought my own PlayStation. And that shit makes a difference. That physical presence is huge.
Yep. Demo stations. Listen, I agree. I always thought that it was very cool when, I found the demo station somewhere and could play some games on a system that maybe I didn't have. And I think, VR, we're in a digital era now. We can download shit really easily. Demos are available on the PlayStation Store. It's we don't have to go find one of these kiosks anymore. But for VR, we do. And it makes a huge difference getting a headset on somebody's head. Most people do walk away from a VR experience going, how much is one of these? Where can I get one? And it just plugs right into my PS5. I already own some VR games. I didn't realize, right? It's that's always the follow-up conversation. So yeah, Advertising is one thing. Kiosks or demo stations are a complete other thing. And I do think we absolutely need more of those.
Yeah, especially like you said, at that 550 price point. I mean, VR is expensive, and if you can't even try it, good luck. Good luck selling somebody can't even try for $550. Like, that's insane.
Yeah. Now let's run the game feeling with the $5 tip. Says great sales at the moment. Journey to Foundations 50% off and is worth it. IMO Car Mechanic Simulator 50% off, also a good deal. Now this Ryan is always the one throwing some support to the underdogs. I like it. I'm gonna have to heart that one. I do want to get back to Journey to Foundation. That was one that came out. I literally had one day to play that game before the whole kitchen remodel thing happened, and I was begging them. Everyone else had their keys, and I couldn't get my hands on one until literally the same day that the demo started, and I was like, shit. So I just never got around to playing Journey to Foundation. Hopefully it's good, man, because I do want to get around to playing it at some point.
I have games like that too. Like I had a lot going on in like December and January, obviously with like my personal life. I didn't give RE4 near enough time. I was just saying this on the show the other day that like we need to go back and cover that one because we never properly covered it on my channel. Yeah,
RE4 came out in December when I was doing the award show stuff. And so like that's an essential review that needs to be on the channel. I think it's already written. I started editing it and everything. Like it's just sitting in limbo somewhere. We'll get around to it eventually. But Ramy, the Gamecat with the 24 euro says, "What's up, folks? Managed to be here for once. Oh, glad you're here, Bell. He's probably already gone, but thanks for stopping in." Living Legend with the Canadian $5 tip says, "I hope Cerny." We don't see very many Mark Cerny tips around here. "I hope Cerny gets more involved in assisting studios with VR2 games using his technical expertise. He revolutionized 3D platformers with Spyro/Ratchet. Thank you so much, Living Legend, for not including the abomination known as Knack in that list."
Okay.
That game was shit. Both of them. No, I didn't play
Did he
the
have
second
anything to do with Spyro? And I thought he was Crash Bandicoot.
I remember him being Crash Bandicoot. I don't remember what his role with Spyro or Ratchet is, but I do think Living Legends on something. I do think he was part of that too. Listen. He made a killer port of California games for the Master System. So he knows what he's doing. The dude knows. What's
he's
up.
definitely a super genius. Yeah. I think he's more. Yeah, I don't know if he's very hands-on with. Would be very hands-on with VR. VR just needs marketing, man. That's really all it needs. It needs marketing and continue to get awesome games.
Mike Anderson with the 20 Sekiros retracted his message before we could get to it. He saw that PSVR2 was sold out on Amazon, and he thought he's like, this is a good sign, right? Unfortunately, a lot of cats checked on that and said, no, it's not sold out here. So I don't know what you saw, Mike. But yeah, if it was sold out, that would be pretty cool. Pietrek F with the 30 Plantain says, Wes, flat players. Oh boy, here we go. Wes, flat players got Helldivers 2, Ronin, Stellar Blade, and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. If any of these games go to VR mode, we would say it's amazing support.
I would call one of those a blockbuster title, Final Fantasy, and that one again is a remake. Helldivers 2 is the other one that really sticks out, and no one expected Helldivers 2 to be what it turned out to be. That game has overachieved. It's great, but calling it a AAA blockbuster, I think, is a bit of a stretch. And out of all of the four, that's probably the one that would be best suited for VR, from what I understand.
I'd play them all, but I mean,
Stellar Blade, that sells some headsets.
I guess
genius marketing decision ever. Put Stellar Blade in VR.
Do you think they'd make it first person? Dudes just be running around looking at their boobs the whole time?
You could do first person, zoom out mode, whatever. That is the most genius VR marketing strategy you could possibly ever do.
It'd be good for a day, and then they would do the fully clothed DLC like they did for the flat version.
All right, moving on, guys. Moving on. Let's talk about some games, dude. We've been here for over an hour. We haven't really talked about any new games that have come out. So let's start with the big one, Shaven Stuff. Shaven Stuff is out on the PlayStation Store for $15. I get to play this for about, 45 minutes today. I talked to the developers. They're super happy. They sent me a key. They sent a couple of keys for us, and they were super happy that we're going to talk about it. Did you guys have a chance to check this one out?
I did.
Excellent. What did you think, Wes? Sorry.
Well, it reminded me of when I was a new father. We used to take my young, 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old children with me out to try to do business in public, and that would be kind of hard to corral. So I would download these games onto my Android phone that cost like $1, $2, just enough to keep them entertained. That's what this is. This is a children's game. You sit. You're a barber. You start off as a barber. We'll say that. You start off as a barber. It's completely questified, cartoony graphics. It's not like realistic or anything. And they hand you a photo, and you have to make the person sitting in front of you look like the photo. And the better job you do, the more stars you get. The more stars you get, the faster you unlock new game modes. And the other game modes are Tattoo Parlor, which is basically the same thing as the barbershop, only now the puzzles are a little bit more complex because you're putting facial jewelry on them, you're stenciling tattoos on them, and then if you do well enough in the tattoo parlor, then they unlock free play, which I would assume means that you can just kind of do what you want with it, which could have some potential for people to like do some really funny stuff and take screenshots and share on social media, that type of thing. But the game itself is very basic. There's nothing wrong with it. It runs smoothly. Like there's no like jank or not much jank anyway. But it's not for me. It's something that I feel like children would probably have a lot of fun with. But for like an adult gamer, it was pretty boring.
I was kind of into it, at least at first. I thought it was cool just being able to grab the different clippers and cutting their hair down to different lengths and grabbing the shaving blade and down to skin level, and just I don't know, like I was just, you know what, listen, we haven't even talked about Stride Fates yet, but we're going to. And after playing Stride Fates, I needed something that was just fucking like that just worked and it was dumb fun, and this was exactly that. It worked and it was dumb fun. I agree. I definitely think the target demographic here is for kids. And there are plenty of, parents that let their kids play VR games. So I do think that is, that's likely who will get the most enjoyment out of this. It was interesting because I was having fun with it at first, and I feel like the more complicated the hairstyles got and the more work that it took for me to actually replicate the picture properly, the less I was enjoying it. Right? Like right. When certain customers came in and I just needed to shave their head and change the color of their eyebrows or something like that, I was like, boom, done, good, 3 stars. And then somebody came in and was like, oh my God, I think I have to shave your head and start over from scratch because there's just so much to change here. And it was like, and I spent 10 minutes on one girl and then I got 1 star because I spent so long on her. It's not timed, but I spent so long on the hair that I completely forgot to put the tattoo on her. Like it was just, so I got 1 star, like, oh, what a waste of fucking 10 minutes. And so I don't know. I thought it was a fun little, goofy game. And I do think this is a market for it. Let me ask you this, Wes, what do you think the age demographic for like job sim and vacation sim is? Do you think it's the same demographic as this?
Probably. Now, I think the vacation sim specifically could appeal a little bit to older gamers because there's a little bit more there in terms of content than there was with Job Simulator. But the people that you see still playing those games, Job Sim, Vacation Sim, are children. And yeah, the exactly the same demographic that will likely enjoy playing something like this.
Definitely experienced a few problems that drove me up the wall. I can't really turn around when I'm playing VR. I just can't. Like my space that I have to play, like my back is kind of to a bookshelf, and I'm like one step away from it, just to make sure that when I swing my arms back, I don't hit it. But man, if I have to turn around in real life and like reach out for something, then I am going to hit that bookshelf. This game allows you to turn using smooth turning. You have to change that in the settings, but it's the slowest smooth turning I've ever experienced. And it also doesn't rotate you on a center point. Like it kind of rotates you around. And so you end up having to recalibrate literally every single time you use the rotate option. It's kind of a mess. And it was frustrating. Also, I had a really hard time getting like specific lines that I was trying to create with the hair. It was way too.
I'm sorry. It works. The razors work like, but basically what you have here is you have a 3D paint.
Yeah.
Basically, you're in this 3D world with a cartoony, low detail character in front of you, and you're basically using Microsoft Paint to either paint their hair different colors, or you're using an eraser function to erase it from them. And the eraser function is about as precise as it would be on Microsoft Paint. So it's hard to get that perfect line, especially when you're coloring hair. And you basically, the way you color hair is you take a can of spray paint and you spray paint it, and it's got a wide, area of effect. So yeah, basically the same frustrations that you have taking a mouse on Microsoft Paint and trying to draw something in detail are the same type of issues that you have trying to create a hairstyle or recreate a hairstyle in this game. The good news is it's pretty forgiving. It's only to satisfy your own OCD that you have to get the lines perfectly straight. They don't have to be perfectly straight for the judges. If you get it in the ballpark, they'll still give you 3 stars.
Yeah. AJ, did you have a chance to check this out?
Nope, I haven't, but I'll maybe check it out at some point. I would have liked to try and check it out before the show today, but I just didn't have any time to. So I will say it looks like some dumb fun for a little bit, maybe. It seems like dumb, cheap fun.
Yeah. Like I said, I played it for 45 minutes, enough to get through. Well, I'm sorry. I have no idea how long each of the game modes goes on for. I played the first mode, the barber shop mode, enough to unlock the tattoo parlor. Surprised that the tattoo parlor had so much in common with the barbershop. Like I was kind of confused at why it wasn't just one game mode that gradually introduced new items. Why it wasn't just the barbershop at first and then gradually just opened up and said, oh, now you have tattoo options. Don't know why it was separated into 2 different modes. And now that I'm 45 minutes in and have played, I've seen a lot of what it has to offer. I don't think I would be going back if it wasn't for, outside of review purposes. So $15 for 45 minutes of enjoyment. I gotta, seems like a little bit too much. I do wish this was like part of a job simulator type game where it was like, oh, here's one of 5 things that you're doing in this game, right? That wasn't the entire game is this shaven stuff. But
kids will like it. If you have kids in VR that like playing stuff like Job Sim, they may like this because you can do some funny stuff with it, right? These people that come in have, pretty big hair on their head that you can sculpt down, and you can give them funny horns and make it pink or whatever kind of crazy thing you want to do with it. You can give them, facial piercings and weird tattoos. So there is some potential for it. Again, for the right crowd. And it's a shame that you have to work so long to unlock the freestyle mode, because I feel like that's going to be the main draw for them with kids is just really let them be creative and do what they want. But yeah, I think there's a crowd, definitely a crowd for this. I just don't think it's any of us or anybody that's watching this.
Well, the other demographic I thought that would really enjoy it is streamers, because when I was playing it, I was streaming it in Discord voice chat, and so the people who were hanging out just kind of like watching me play got some laughs out of what was happening. And you accidentally shave someone's eyebrow off. It's pretty fucking. You don't mean to do it, and just like next you look down, you're like, shit, I was shaving their head, and I went right through their eyebrow. And so there's some laughs to be had here, but it's it's very specific.
I had a guy do that to me. I had a guy do that to me once. He asked me if I wanted my eyebrows trimmed, and I said, yeah, sure. So he shaved my fucking eyebrows off.
What?
Like gone. Yeah.
Nobody looks right without eyebrows. I will say that.
No, it's weird, man. Even the drawn on ones. That don't look right, man.
Especially the drawn on ones. Yep. Mikey D, the fuzzy game cat with the $5 tip, says, hey guys. Hey, Mikey D. Sony has a rep of thinking the Sony label sells itself. A certain corporate arrogance. Maybe the new guys. Yeah, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, Mikey D. I will say, however, that during a generation that Microsoft has dropped the ball so badly, it's almost like Sony doesn't have to do very much they're not even on top. I mean, like, let's be fair. Nintendo's been on top since the Switch launched. Like, that was game changer. But I mean, but Microsoft has just not been making any right moves lately. Right? They're shutting down studios. They're trying to buy up the entire industry, but it's not working out for them. Shit's just not going well over there. And so when you're PlayStation and you're like, well, these are our direct competitors, you don't have to do too much to look good. I don't agree that it's the right thing for them to do. I feel like they should be operating as if Microsoft is still a big competitor, but yeah, unfortunately, that is just what's happening in the games industry right now. Like, studios are being shut down. Everything looks bad. There's a lot of doom and gloom, and it's bad when Sony only shutting down one studio is good news. They only shut down one studio. Well, I guess two, right? Because is it Deviation they shut down? Even though, like, that sounds like a tax move because they just moved those guys into another studio. Anyway.
Yeah. I hear that another one's coming soon, though. I just keep holding my breath, hoping that it isn't another VR studio. Matt Longo says that Sony is competing with Nintendo and other game companies, not Microsoft. And I think to some extent that that's becoming more true. I feel like Microsoft is very much shifting to a software company. It feels like they're going to be one of PlayStation's main partners in 5 to 10 years, just from the decisions that they're making. And it makes sense for them. And I'm not saying that they're going to stop making Xboxes altogether, but I don't think that that's their main revenue stream. And it makes perfect sense for them to partner with Sony if they're going to be a software company.
They just seem like they're becoming a publisher. Like, at this point.
Yeah.
They're basically just becoming a publisher.
And I'm fine with that. Honestly, I'm excited for one flat game right now. That doesn't happen very often, but I'm over the moon excited for it. And that is a Microsoft game. Hellblade 2. It's coming out next week.
Yeah. I still think that's weird to say that Sony and Microsoft don't compete or are not competing. I think that sounds like a...
I mean, there's still some of that, but what Brian was saying in the original comment, or whoever that was, it's absolutely true. Sony is basically for the last, pretty much the entire PS5 generation, they're just living off of goodwill. They're burning goodwill that they developed during the PS4 generation.
Right, but if you like, I do agree with that. I mean, that's part of the problem that I have with like the current leadership or the structure, whatever you want to call it, or point the blame at. Yeah, like there you can point and say that you've seen signs of that, but I feel like they've earned everything that they've got. Like they've earned their spot that they've gotten to over decades of doing really awesome things for gamers and bringing us awesome games, awesome hardware, usually like affordable prices. Like so, I while I agree that there has been some moments, the launch of the PS3, definitely like the lack of communication and certain things, kind of. Going backwards in terms of marketing and communication this gen. I don't know if I would say that's like the only rep or like, that's their reputation. But I do agree that, a lot of this success of this generation has been catapulted from last gen. But you know what got them that success was doing amazing things last gen. Not
Yeah, I never don't misunderstand. I never meant to imply that they didn't earn their spot. When I say they're burning their goodwill, they earned every bit of the goodwill that they're burning. My point is that if they don't change, that will eventually run out, as they
Absolutely.
learned in the PS3 generation.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, gamers are, they're pretty smart. Like they can be smart. Like they've smartened up a lot, and like you said, maybe it's something to do with like what Brian said earlier about just more people knowing more about what goes on behind the scenes, what goes on behind the business side of things. There's a lot of just like loud noise out there that's just dumb console war idiots, but those that are actually analyzing the stuff that's going on, like that's not something we've had before, and it's I totally agree. Like that goodwill will only get you so far. You have to produce products, or else people will stop buying your stuff.
Here's what we need: is a different company to come in and shake things up. Right? It's been Nintendo and Microsoft and Sony for far too long. When Sony jumped in '95 and brought us to PlayStation 1, it shook things up. When Microsoft jumped in and brought us the original Xbox, it shook things up, right? And like it kept everybody on their toes. Nobody's jumping in and shaking things up right now. We need somebody to get everyone on their toes, because, man. Like I think the industry is in a really bad shape. I think the cost to make AAA games being hundreds of millions of dollars is fucking ridiculous. I don't think games should cost that much to make. I don't think that AAA games should take 6 to 7 years to make. It's just wrong, dude. Like, because at this point, like say Naughty Dog comes out with, I don't know, Last of Us 3 or Uncharted 5 or whatever the fuck they're doing over there, right? And it flops for whatever reason. Right, and games flop all the time right now for all sorts of reasons, right? Even good games get review bombed and shit, and so like anything could happen. And all it takes is one bad game now for a AAA studio to get shut down, because that's 7 years of development, hundreds of millions of dollars at play, right? Time to shut them down. It's not how the gaming industry should work, man. It's not how it should work, and I would definitely settle for for graphics that look a little more PlayStation 4, or games that didn't have, I don't even know it's taking so long anymore. Like it's just like 3 to 4 year dev cycle max, right? Like over $100 million for one game. It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen. One bad game should not ruin a company, and that is exactly where we're at right now, especially with the AAA studios that Sony has, right? Because that's how long it's taking them to make these games. That's how much money is going into them. It's not right.
Right, and and it's not really, when you look at the difference between AA games and AAA games, production value really isn't the difference. It's the scope. Right, it's these $100 million games are 60 to 100 hours to play, where the AA games are providing the same amount of quality and depth, but it's a 20-hour game, it's a 30-hour game, and I think that those games are doing much better in terms of like the bottom line and the return on them, and the industry as a whole is kind of reconfiguring around that kind of hard fact of life right now. I think it's going to probably take new technology to really bring us into the next big boom for video game industry. I think that we're going to continue to see so engagement until we really see something that's actually new and revolutionary, and that might end up being VR, AR, XR, 5-10 years down the road, or in the shorter term, it could be the impact of artificial intelligence on video games, which is going to have a profound impact not only on how games are made, but how games work. I think we're just kind of in a transition phase right now, and it's kind of difficult to predict what the thing is going to be that really triggers the next big boom period for us.
Mark Pringlesleaf with the £5 said, I told my wife she was drawing her eyebrows too high. She looks surprised. It's a pretty good joke.
That's good.
Ben Schroeder with $2 says, has Dez played Madison? He didn't find the RE7 scary. Dez has not played Madison to my knowledge. To my knowledge, Dez doesn't even have a PSVR2 headset. I'll tell you, man, when people leave without parole, they fall, and they fall far. I would love Dez played Madison though. I'd love to watch that. I do have to say, we got all sorts of different cats who are going to be streaming Madison at some point soon. I know that Mikey Sensei is going to be streaming it at some point. Mikey's got his own channel. I think Niculo just convinced Jay Meow to stream, and a lot of this is going to be happening in our Discord. So like, make sure you come join our Discord. People will be streaming in the voice channels, and we're going to be like laughing hysterically at people streaming this shit. So Madison is a fun game to watch people play IMO. Guys, let's keep the game chat rolling. Another game that came out this week was Thief Simulator Greenview Street. I'm going to kick this one off, and I will say it's the first game in a little while that's made me motion sick. Lots and lots of stuttering. It's in the car, outside of the car. The reprojection is horrible. It's nauseating to play. I managed to play it for another like half hour today, and didn't get sick, but man, the frame rate was terrible. AJ, I think you have spent probably more time with this one than I have, right?
I don't know. I've spent a significant amount of time with it though.
Then you definitely have spent more time with it than I have. I did the first few missions, and then they asked me to go basically watch somebody. They were like, go monitor this person at like 111 Greenview Street, and they wanted me to keep an eye on him to kind of like keep track of when he's home and when he's not. And boy, it was 20 minutes of a whole lot of nothing. Like nothing was happening. And that's when I dropped out. I was like, I don't even think this game works right anymore.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about. This game is obviously it's kind of a gimmicky game. It's built around a gimmick of like, this. It's supposed to be kind of dumb fun, something like a drunken bar fight or whatever. It's all made from, cheap Unity assets. It actually has drunken bar fight assets in it. So it's that same kind of low budget thing. There's some things I like about the game. I do think it feels like cheaply made or dated or something. Maybe it's just like, I don't know how old this IP or this game is, but it definitely feels old and dated and uses a lot of like assets that I've seen before in other games. And that being said, like I like some things about this game. Like I like the concept of going in and breaking into houses and looking around for valuables and stealing stuff. And then it's all tied together by this like, this Greenview Street is basically, this whole area that you can explore freely. And you actually even have like a car that you can drive around, which is pretty cool. And yeah, this game did have some issues at launch. Like it made me like feel, I don't get motion sickness, but this game kind of gave me some nausea, which is extremely rare. So there was something weird going on, and like, you know, the developers even were paying attention to people saying this. I don't think it was just you and I that were saying it. There was other people reporting it as well. So they went back and they dumbed down the graphics. I think they took out some of the lighting that it had, and and as a result, yeah, like it looks even lower quality than before, because, you know, it looked like Unity assets and stuff, but at least it was like, in my opinion, like it was like Unity assets, but it had lighting, it was sharp and clear, and now it looks like stripped down Unity assets, and the graphical clarity has taken a hit, and it doesn't look as good as it did for what it was or whatever. And yeah,
it is. Listen, it's funny to hear you say this, because my experience with it was completely different. I think I didn't actually notice the difference between playing. The social screen actually looks pretty damn good. It looks nice and clear. It was a blurry game for me when I first played it at day one when it first launched, and then I checked it out today before the GAMESCAST, and it was still blurry. Still doesn't look great. I didn't notice any difference whatsoever in the graphics. I didn't notice any difference in the environments. I didn't notice any difference in the lighting. The frame rate was still trash. The reprojection was still trash. It was as if they didn't patch it whatsoever, from my experience.
This game has the worst reprojection and mirror that I've ever seen. I don't typically notice that stuff. This is like reprojection mirror of the game, and like I swear I don't even usually ever notice it, care about it, something like that. It is heavily on display here for me.
Yeah. Strangely, I want this to be good. I want them to patch this. I want this because I do like the concept of it being like this kind of mini open world. I got just far enough to unlock the lockpicking skill, right? And that's a pretty VRAF mechanic. It feels like something that's out of a Bethesda game, a Fallout game, something like that. And I like that quite a bit. And I saw the skill tree. I was like, wow, there's a lot to fucking unlock here. There's a lot to do. And so like I'm excited for the future of this game. I really hope that they're able to clean it up and make it look nice and perform well. But as is, like, I mean, it is a hard pass. Wes, we haven't heard a word from you because we've been talking the whole time. Is this something that you had played on PC or Quest prior to the PSVR2 release?
So I did play the original Thief Simulator on PCVR. Greenview Street is the kind of scaled back version that was made for Quest. Right. I've never played Greenview Street. I did like the original Thief Simulator as a concept. You're right. There's lots of skill trees and things to unlock in it. I like the idea of being able to drive my car around what was a pretty decent size open map, you know, and a lot of things. I mean, it is what it says it is. It's a thief simulator. You have to go. You have to case out places that you might hit. You have to, you know, take note of when people are home and when they're not, and plan things out, just like a real life crackhead would. But with that said,
you think crackheads put that much thought into this, into
well,
robbing
not anymore. Not anymore. This is kind of a relic of a bygone time, back before they decriminalized shoplifting. Now people just go to the stores and just take shit and leave. But once upon a time, crackheads were really shifty, man, and you had to watch them. They'll come into your house and take your stuff. But from what I'm hearing you guys say here is basically that they didn't even bother bringing the Steam version. They brought the Quest version over, and they did a poor job of that. So I think that's unfortunate. I think there's potential here with the game, you know, the core mechanics of the game, to have something that's worthwhile and fun to play. But it sounds like they're pretty far off from achieving that.
Yeah, the developer's pretty communicative on Twitter, saying that they're a small team, which is like, the first excuse we always hear. And I'm like, listen, I get you're a small team and you weren't able to like, get everything ready for launch, but like fucking delay the game then. Like I'm really, really tired of this excuse. Yes, you're a small dev team. We understand that. We have expectations set. However, delay your game. Delay your game and release it when it's ready. I'm very, very tired of this excuse. I'm very, very tired of playing games that are just simply not ready for launch. That said, they said, hey, listen, we brought this to Quest, and it wasn't perfect on Quest when we launched, and we spent, we updated and updated and updated and updated and listened to the community and made sure that game was much better than it was. I don't know what how it is now. I haven't talked to anybody who's actually played it on Quest, and so maybe it plays well. Maybe they've worked out all the kinks, all the bugs, all the graphical issues. But it sounds like they're committed to spending some time with the PSVR2 version and getting it to the right place. That said, it's been 3 or 4 patches, and like I said, to me, it plays exactly the same and it looks exactly the same. So that's not a good start.
Yeah. And this approach in general, I mean, I can obviously sympathize with small dev teams if they're starving and they need to do something to make money or go work at 7-Eleven. Obviously, I understand that. Right. At the same time, it's kind of short-sighted, because even if they stick with it and over the course of a year make it into what it should have been at launch, how many sales have they lost? Like even on Quest, let's say that it's great on Quest today, that they admit that they launched it before it was ready. How many more people would have bought it if they just waited to launch it until it was ready?
Yep.
And they wouldn't have the negative reviews to deal with, and people would say, hey, you know what, this is an awesome game, you should try it out. So you're costing yourself money in the long run by launching too early. That should be the nuclear option, I feel like, for developers. Like literally the last thing that you want to do is put the game out there before it's ready.
It seemed like they put a little effort into it, that it was going to release in like a slightly enhanced state. But obviously it had a major design flaw, which, like I said, caused major motion sickness, and that had to be removed. And like I was actually kind of enjoying this game as like you would, to the level of something that you could enjoy with like a drunken bar fight kind of game. Like some people actually like that game because of just like, they like what it offers, but they know what it is at the same time. That's kind of like where I was going with this game. I was like, look, I know what this game is. Like, I know what it's trying to be. It's kind of like, if anything, I could have seen it being like a guilty pleasure kind of game. Like, hey, I know this game's not the greatest, but I'm having kind of fun with it, right? The part that got to me is exactly what you described, Brian. Like when you're like having to stake out and then you're having to like watch people and wait for them to leave their house. And that happened to me where like I'm sitting there and it's like, go and wait by this person, wait for them to leave. And
it tells you what time to get there too, right? So you're not just arbitrarily going at a random time. It's like, oh, be there at 7 a.m. and watch what happens. And like, so you're there and you're following the directions. And like in real time, I felt like I was standing outside for 20 minutes. I was like, I'm doing literally nothing.
Yeah. And that's kind of what happened for me. Was I was sitting there and like it was the end. I'm waiting for this NPC to leave, and they were literally just standing in the corner of their yard staring at the fence. And like obviously they're not programmed to do much more than that. It's like a timing based thing or something like that. There's no, you're not watching them like actually do anything. They're literally just facing the wall, and it's like not even like what a real person would be doing in that situation. So it's not immersive. But the game has a couple cool VR mechanics and whatnot. But yeah, overall, it's just kind of a mess. And
So there's 2 comments in the chat that I want to bring up. We got Cerebral Frost, the SPVR cat, said something to keep in mind about always delaying a game. Sometimes you can't afford it. In some cases, the game needs to be shipped. Otherwise, it never will. No money to keep developing. This is... Listen, I sympathize with small dev teams. I sympathize with any team trying to get a game out, right? We know it's not easy. We know that a lot of shit happens, a lot of unexpected stuff. Money is tight. It's not cheap to port these things. It's not cheap to develop these things. I get it. But it kind of harkens back to the conversation we were having earlier about like being like, we just know fucking too much, right? Like how I don't want to know about who made the movie I'm about to go see. Or like, gee, I hope they make their money back, right? Or you know, did they ever ship a movie too early? I mean, you don't really hear that, you know. And I just feel like as gamers we're expected to be a little too empathetic, which is funny because I'm like, you know, I do feel as though I've been on both sides of this conversation, but it's like, man, it's really not on the gamer to be like, oh, well, it's fine because these guys were going to go bankrupt if they didn't ship the game. It's like, you know what? Fine. At least when you're launching the game, say, hey, just want to let you know, this is the state that we're launching it in. I don't know. There's like no transparency, right? Like we have to get out there and we have to play these shitty ports and games with real like tons of issues, and then developers go, okay, well, we'll fix it. Why the fuck didn't you fix it already? Right? Why is it our responsibility? Right? It's just exhausting. It's fucking exhausting, and I'm tired of it, man. It makes me hate doing what I do sometimes. You know, like I mean, we're about to talk about Stride Fates, man, and like I will tell you, Stride.
I feel like we.
I had just come back from taking some time off and like kind of recentering and giving myself a little bit of a mental health break. And I came back to Madison. I was like, oh, thank God, Madison is exactly what I needed to remind myself why I love doing this so much, why I love PSVR2, why I love VR in general, why I love Without Parole and all the fans. And then literally, you know, a week or two later, you know, here I got to fucking play Stride Fates and. It just
and on that note, let's kick it over to talk about Stride Fates, which released today. You know, it's funny that a lot of the stuff you're talking about, a lot of these tomorrow. Sorry, tomorrow. Well, yeah, this has been an interesting lead up to launch with Stride Fates. And I mean, all the stuff you talk about, like, you know, it shouldn't be on the gamer, shouldn't be on the thing. That's kind of, at least it's not out yet, which is good. I was wondering why I don't see people like rioting in the streets everywhere just yet. And yeah, that explains why. But there's been something interesting that's happened with this game. So, you know, you haven't published your review, Brian.
It's coming.
Right. But the reason you haven't yet is because the game has received a couple patches, because we've been playing the game. We've had it for like about a week now or something, a couple hours since the weekend, something, a couple days at least. And we noticed some major issues with it, like major bugs, game breaking crashes, some awful issues. We notified, you know, the developers, and I wrote them a really heartfelt email. Like I was like, guys, like, I don't know if you have played this or not, but you've got problems. There's big problems going on here. And luckily it sounds like I did get a couple updated emails of them saying that they have released some patches for this game. And I got to just briefly look at it before the show. And they have fixed one thing. But overall, Brian, let's go ahead and Wes and kick things off, and let's talk. So I just wanted to preface it with that. You know, why we don't have reviews out just yet, why we're kind of doing things now. Yeah. Let's talk about Stride Fates, which releases tomorrow.
All right. Well, Stride Fates is the campaign, the story-based Stride that we've all been waiting for. And this was initially was supposed to be just an update to the original Stride game, right? And so we're like, oh, the great Stride came out on PSVR 1, $15. I'm just quoting my fucking review right now, by the way. So this is early access review. Stride came out on PSVR 1, $15, and then soon after, Joyway raised the price to $20, and we're like, oh, cool. They're raising the price because more content is coming. We've seen this happen before. We were mistaken. Joyway never supported that game again. It was a very straightforward kind of endless runner parkour game. There was some mission-based stuff where you could kind of run around the city a little more freely, accomplishing missions, but it was like very, very arcade-based and straightforward. And so we're like, man, this would be so good if they took this concept, this formula, and turned it into a full-fledged game with a story and narrative. And we were wrong. Because Stride Fates kind of like this, it's what they're attempting to do, but I mean, personally, I think that they just failed miserably at creating a campaign-based game taking place in the Stride universe with Stride mechanics, because everything that was fun about Stride is not present in Stride Fates. The game's Stride was all about, you know, here's the world is collapsing behind you as you're furiously running and climbing up the side of buildings and throwing yourself off, and then, you know, here's a laser. It's like we're gonna slide under the laser and simultaneously pull out your gun and shoot an enemy, and then jump over to the platform where he's at and crash through a window, and the world is still crashing behind you, and you're just trying to make it as far as you can go. It's like, dude, that doesn't happen in this game. That the excitement of Stride does not exist in Stride Fates, and that alone is a problem, right? Because Joyway looks like they tried to go out of their way to be like, hey, we're gonna make a full-fledged game with a story, and there's gonna be stealth segments, and there's gonna be puzzles, and all they've done is sort of ruin Stride in the process.
100% agree. You would think that the concept here was to take Stride, the original game. I love that game. Oh, I liked it a lot. The fluidity of the movement, the parkour, even visually, like it looked pretty cool. It had a cool aesthetic to it. The gameplay was really fun, really solid, and felt great. They took that concept and they tried to build a full game out of it, but they broke the fundamental stuff that made it fun in the process. Like that fun core element did not survive the transition to this game. Some of the I've been pretty looking forward to this, and it's unfortunate. Now it was what we've been playing over the last week was an absolute disaster, like embarrassing, abysmal, horrible, broken disaster. It's gotten a little bit better, but it's still not. It still has huge problems. The gameplay itself, like you said, I thought this would be a fast-paced, action-packed, parkour game with like some shooting, some stuff. Where's all the parkour in this game? Like, there's so little of the parkour in this game, and that's, I think, one of the biggest, most perplexing things for me. There's a lot of climbing, like Call of the Mountain, they slowed down the gameplay, and there's more climbing and like Call of the Mountain, except you're just like climbing around sides of buildings and stuff, and inside hallways off the ground, like the floor is lava stuff. And then there's like an arena-based wave.
Wait, hold on. Let's tackle one thing at a time. Let's tackle the wave shooter stuff next. But dude, climbing, you're right. There's so much climbing in this, and I'd be fine with that, I guess, right? Because after the first hour or two that you're playing Stride Fates, you're like, okay, I have to let go of the idea that this is a Stride game. This is just a new game that every so often I get to do some parkour in occasionally, very infrequently. You let go of the idea that this is a Stride game, and you say, well, let's look at it based on what it actually is, not based on what we wish it was.
Right.
And the climbing's terrible. There's so much climbing, and it's like at least Horizon Call of the Mountain. It was like the climbing felt good, and it was like, oh, this is if I've been doing this for hours.
like
At least it feels good. In this, it's just like it's half broken. It's janky. You reach out to grab something, and your hand goes this way. It goes this way. Sometimes it doesn't. It refuses to grab on, just depending on where you are. And so, like, even though you're doing this dangerous climbing with falling hundreds of feet, if you let go on accident, you're never really secure in the fact that like you've got a firm grasp on whatever it is you're holding. You're like, if I let go of this other hand, am I about to fall? You're never sure because the game's super buggy, super glitchy.
It's very janky, very that's been my biggest complaint about this game. I mean, I have several, but that's the biggest probably surprise to me is like how unpolished it is. And you know, the graphics were not very good when I played it. They did update the LODs. Like it was embarrassing before.
Yeah, we should talk about that too.
Now the graphically, it still doesn't look like amazing or anything, not even close. But I do think they cleaned it up a little bit. But that's only half the problem.
Hold on.
Or a quarter of the problem.
See, some people are going to agree with you, AJ, and some people are going to agree with me. They added anti-aliasing. When we first played this game, everything looked shimmery.
Did they?
Everything was shimmery.
Did they?
Yes.
Yeah.
I played this game today, right before the show, and it was a shimmery fucking mess.
Dude,
are you telling me that that's supposed to have some sort of anti-aliasing in it? Because I sure could not tell it if it did.
Wes, I've been playing this game on and off for like 5 days. Like I can only handle about a half hour at a time without just getting super frustrated, the game crashing, whatever, like, right, or just being like something not working, like getting stuck in the floor, and it's like, fuck this, and I take off the headset and go, I'll get back to this tomorrow, and it's just like a plug away for another 30 minutes. So I've been playing this on and off, so I've been very familiar with how the game looked pre and post patch. Pre-patch, everything was shimmery. Post-patch, now that they've added anti-aliasing, there's now a level of blur with everything and shimmer. It's like, so now it looks like a PlayStation VR 1 game. It
looks like Hellsweeper,
and it's shimmery.
Looks like Hellsweeper.
That's the weird part. For me, it was blurry and shimmery, and now it's just shimmery and not as blurry.
See, I could never call it pre-patch. I would have never called it blurry. I was just like, well, at least it's sharp, but everything has shimmers, and it's just everything's got jaggy edges. At least it's sharp,
so
and now it's like, oh, now it's blurry and it's still shimmery.
And here's the thing: it's clean on Quest, and they haven't updated the textures here. It's the same game visually, with the exception of some lighting updates, but just fucking shimmer and blur all over everything now. It looks better on fucking Quest 2 than it looks on PlayStation VR.
Yeah, that's really weird. But they really screwed this one up, which is unfortunate because it had a lot of the right stuff going for it. Brian, I'm sorry, what were you gonna say?
I just want to put a bookend the graphics conversation. I will say that before the patch today, there were moments where there were moments that was so dark where I was like in an elevator shaft, and they were like, oh, the little yellow waypoint is always visible, and so it was like, oh, climb up here, but it was so dark in the elevator shaft. I was like, how? I don't see a ladder. I don't see ledges. I don't see anything I can grab onto. It is fucking pitch black in here, and there's no flashlight. It was an absolute joke. And so thankfully, if you hear anyone complaining about the, like situations like that, at least that's been fixed. Like the lighting was a mess. You'd enter places that were outdoors that seemed completely black, and you're like, wait, why is there no lighting out here? We're outdoors, right? Like we should at least have some lighting, some source of light. And so that has been fixed, thankfully. It's not a good looking game in the slightest.
The lack, I mean, there is like a tiny bit of parkour here, but the lack of how compared to how much parkour I was expecting, like I expected to be doing that most of the game.
Yep.
And it's like ordering like a nice burger, and then there's like no meat patty in it. Like it's got the lettuce, it's got the the whatever, the condiments or whatever, but that's like, where's the meat? Where's the beef, man? Remember that? Where's the beef?
Oh, I remember.
But go ahead, Wes.
so that's not really my problem with the gameplay. As I've said many times before, I did not like the original Stride. I didn't think it was fun at all. I prefer the movement in this game. With that said, the grabbing and interactions in this version of it are terrible. Like you're climbing, and sometimes you're grabbing, sometimes you're not. Sometimes your hand gets stuck in the geometry of what you're trying to climb.
Right before I was, hold that thought. Remember what you were going to say, because right before we did this show, I jumped in just to see the graphical difference. And then I played for about 2 minutes. It took all but 2 minutes for me to start like going. And then like, as I'm climbing across the building, my entire left forearm was stuck in a building, like just clipped through it, and I couldn't pull it out. And I was stuck, and I just had to just fall off and die. But yes, continue.
Yeah. So that aside, I do like the running and jumping in this. I like the wall running. It all feels pretty good. But the one big thing that kind of just ruined this game for me today, and I don't think that this is even something that's, contained the PSVR2, but this is probably a flaw in the Quest game. I haven't tried it yet, but my eyes were opened today to just how overpowered the melee weapons are. I enjoyed this game on Quest, but I never really tried to fight melee with it. I just used my gun the whole time, stayed at distance, and had shootouts with the enemies. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed making my way through these buildings, searching out all the rooms, climbing the architecture outside, jumping from rooftop to rooftop, and fighting the bosses. I thought all that was great. But today, I watched a video that the guy didn't try to shoot at all, and he just used the melee weapons. And you can literally grab either the lead pipe or the baseball bat and just hold it out in front of you and walk into the enemies and kill them. Well, you'll knock them down just by walking into them with the ball bat in front of you. And then when they stand up, as long as you stay within melee range of them, they'll swing to punch you and run into the bat and fall down. And they will just keep doing that over and over and over again until they're dead. Literally, all you have to do is just sit there and walk into them with the bat, and they will kill themselves on your bat. And sure, if you're walking into a group of enemies, the other ones will be shooting you while this happens, but it's not enough to kill you. Like, you'll take some damage, but you'll have this guy beat himself to death on your bat before you die, and then you can just walk over to the next guy and hold the bat in front of him and let him kill himself on your bat.
The sad part is game balancing and exploits like that are probably like the least of the problems that this game has. Like, the problems are so much more than that. There's severe quality of life issues. Like you said, the basic gameplay functions are like, don't even work really well. It's hard to reach over and like grab like a box of ammo. Sometimes you have to like you have to literally like grab like the ground to like pull yourself towards something. Like, did you guys have any trouble with that? Like, just the simple act of like grabbing an item off of like a box or something?
Yeah, you have.
I just use the force grab for that. You just point your hand and close it.
You have to be far enough away so that you're using the force grab, but not close enough to where you might accidentally grab the table that the thing is on, right? Because that's what's going to happen. And like, the number of times I was like trying to grab an item and then ended up like pulling like the gun off my chest or whatever. Or if I was like, fuck this. And I would throw the disposable guns that are all over the place. I would throw that because I'm like, that's not what I'm trying to grab. And then I'd reach for the thing that I'm trying to grab, and then the disposable gun would go whoop. And it's like, yes, you're not using DFR in the game. I get it, but maybe you should be using eye tracking to at least assist with picking up the right thing, because sometimes I'm grabbing the table, sometimes I'm grabbing items, and sometimes I'm grabbing the wrong items. Just picking up shit is not. Yeah, it's fucking.
This game lacks so much like QA testing, like so much. there's some weird things about the game that are extremely frustrating. Like I said, it's janky to play. It's not always responsive in the way it responds the way that you need it to or want it to or expect it to. And you know, every time you start the game, you have to re-enable smooth turning if that's your preferred method. Every single time I start the game, even if I save it or whatever, I have to turn smooth turning back on. It's like there's either no testing, no care. Like they don't give a shit. They just literally just crap this game out without and which is surprising to me because there was like so much potential here, like for this game. I mean, everybody would love a quality Mirror's Edge in VR kind of game, and they had the bones for this. They had the bones with the original Stride, and just from a design standpoint, like the level design and everything is it just all feels like there's something wrong on every single level, including the main selling point of this game, which is the story of the game. Yeah, like some of the NPC voice acting stuff, the enemies, like I hope you enjoy living, bitch, or whatever they say. I don't remember what they say, but it's so dumb. Some of the storytelling and whatnot is like so just bad. It's like I'd love it to be like cheesy B movie, like movie action movie stuff. But it's like it doesn't even qualify for that. It's really disappointing on so many different levels. Yep. To the point to where it's like I would have just been happy with just a quality Stride remaster and let me play that endless mode, because that was like, you know, I liked the modes of Stride. I liked the endless mode. I liked the kind of open area mode. And then there was of course the time trials, and there's been lots of good parkour games out there where you're running through it's all about speed runs, right? Like it's all about supposed to be like skill based, like it's fun to play, but then like you can speed run it or try to replay it even faster, and you're having to execute at a higher level. And this is just like not like that. This is oddly slow paced. Yep. For a lot of it. It's oddly slow paced. And not enough of just like, let me run. Like, I just want to keep running. And you can't. You only get the only time you get to like actually run and do any type of parkour is like when you hack these little keys, digital locks or whatever. And like it transports you into like the little digital world inside the key or whatever. And you have to like parkour through that section.
And even all that, like, it feels very lackadaisical. Like just like
it's a lot of just running and jumping.
There's no challenge. You take your time with it. It's like, yep, it's just run, do a wall run. Oh, okay, now grapple across here. It's very just slow paced, and I don't think I've ever screwed one up. Dude, I do want to make a point about. We were talking about weapons earlier, and like I didn't even realize that there was a melee weapon problem because what happens is every enemy that you kill drops a disposable weapon, meaning like if there's probably 7 shots in it, and then once it's done, you can't reload it. You just have to like, you know, so this is how you save ammo. These little red guns are everywhere. And so, you know, the second you see an enemy drop a gun, you grab it, then you save yourself 7 shots on your main weapon. And so, I was never ever in danger of running out of ammo. Right? It's everywhere. It's everywhere. These disposable weapons are dropped by every single enemy. It's not a big deal. And so I was like, man, this is crazy. And so the developers must have realized the same thing, but instead of like scaling it back or balancing some issues, they just made entire sections where it's like, oh, your weapons don't work here. Why? Oh, because they don't. I'm working on fixing it. But wait, but what? Like it was like the lamest part of the story is when they say, oh, your weapons just don't work for this whole next section because we want you to focus on melee combat. Here, we dropped a katana sword, and like this is what you're going to be doing for the next 10 minutes. And then they don't let you jump, and they don't let you use weapons during an entire stealth section. It's like it all just feels so forced. Rather than working within the confines that they've given you, they create new confines. And it just feels so forced and so backwards and so boring. I cannot play this for more than 30 minutes at a time. full disclosure, I didn't beat the game. I'm not going to beat the game. I have way better things to do with my life than that. I'm reviewing a game that I haven't beaten, and that's something I do not do almost ever. Very few and far between.
Yeah, I have no desire to keep playing this. Which is a shame because I was like really excited about this, but it's hard. Like just the further I keep pushing, the more disappointing it was. I don't know. Like I don't even know, man. I didn't even make it like super far into the game. I mean, I sunk some time into it. I was I was having a crashing issue that was preventing me from progressing. Apparently they patched that. I haven't tested it out because in order to test that out, I have to play an entire like 20-minute repetitive.
You shouldn't have
level.
To. There were two of the wave shooter levels. We didn't even talk about that. Jesus Christ, let's talk about that in a second. The DLC 1, I believe, is what they're calling these side missions, where it's like they drop you into an environment and you just fucking shoot enemies for like 20 minutes straight. It feels broken. It's like wait a minute. It's
so repetitive.
This has happened 3 times already. In the first half of the game, there's 3 of them. And it's just so boring. And then at the end of each of them, the game would just crash. Luckily, they fixed that. And when I went back to go play those, you can hit the continue option, and it actually remembers the last save point you were at. So you can literally, if you played those levels, and you can just go finish them off in 5 seconds.
Okay, thank God.
Thankfully, because I didn't want to replay those. Those were so fucking boring. Wave shooters have a bad name, man. Why? Like you're just artificially extending the life of, extending the playtime of your campaign by like just throwing these.
And the map is so poorly designed. Like it's not fun to like it doesn't make you parkour at all. Like it doesn't force you to. It plays like a really cheap basic shooter.
That's one of the things I liked about it were I mean, maybe not at the very beginning, but once you get to the points where there are bosses and mini bosses on the roofs and snipers and things, I thought it was kind of fun to try to have to find your way around that, right? To find an alternative path. And things are kind of open. It's not like linear, so that this is the way that you can go to get to where you need to go. All of the buildings have things for you to grab and climb on. So I actually kind of enjoyed that thing of like, well, what happens if I go to that roof way over there and kind of try to come around and get this guy from the backside? That I kind of enjoyed about it. I mean, it's not for me. It's not all bad. This is a bad port. This game's definitely better on Quest, and it's a game that's forever ruined now because of the melee thing I talked about. But like I said, I did enjoy playing this game as a shooter on Quest, where it looked much better and had a lot less jank.
And I watched a couple of Quest reviews after playing it, and it sounds like this version has the exact same issues that version has. It doesn't sound like if I just went in, like without having played those versions and just listening to what they're saying, I literally felt like it was exactly the same experience that I was experiencing. All the problems that they talked about there.
I think I saw Nihilist Ryan in the chat. Please excuse the fact that I can't find your comment, Ryan. I think I saw him say that he saw other people are enjoying this, so maybe he'll pick it up when it's on sale. I'd like to know how far into the game those people are, because I messaged these guys, all my co-hosts, and after the first half hour of playing Stride Fates, and I was like, oh, it's janky, but this is exactly what I wanted from a Stride campaign. I really thought we were off to a good start, and I really enjoyed the beginning of it. I'm like, here we go, it's good, and I just imagined it getting better and better, and it just got worse and worse the more I played. And so always very interested in hearing like how far people are in the game and what their experience has been so far. This is to me this is a train wreck.
It's such poor quality. That's the problem. Is like it could be fine, but it's so bad quality in so many different aspects of it that it makes it awful.
Yeah. So that's that.
That is that.
You've been warned, and I wish the news was better. Obviously, this is a game we were looking forward to for a really long time. This was a game that I had complete faith in. I don't know why. Mostly because
I don't either.
It looked fun, and I actually I actually enjoyed the original Stride a lot. But yeah, like I said, even coming to terms with the fact that this is not a Stride game, that this doesn't feel like a Stride game, I was like, all right, let's take a look at let's check this out based on what it is and not what it's not. And I still was miserable playing it.
It's like it's just a cheap, janky shooter.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
It's a real shame, you guys. Real shame. Ben Schroeder with the $5 tip says, someone revive Electric Hat games and get to the top on PSVR2. It's funny. You should have been in voice chat the other day. I feel like I almost took out a mortgage in order to fund this thing. Without Parole, the publishing division of Without Parole Games may one day be a thing. So you guys stay tuned for me to go bankrupt. Tan's in the chat. Bows his head in shame. All right, you guys. It is time for a little 20 questions before we wrap this show up. AJ is the host this week. AJ, you got a game chosen?
Maybe.
Perfect. He's already he's AJing the fuck out of before we start the game. Maybe. Baby Ruth. All right, AJ's got a game picked out. It might be PSVR 1, it might be PSVR 2. It's up to me and Wes and all of you in the chat to figure out what game this is by asking 20 yes or no questions. And we've only got 6 minutes on the clock, which is the real challenge here. Let's put up the timer. On your mark. Get Des. Go. Wes, kick it off, man.
Is this game on PSVR 2?
Yes.
Oh, easy one. All right. Is it also on PSVR 1? Such generic first questions.
Yes.
Wow. All right, Wes, it narrows it down to about 40 games, I think.
Is this game PlayStation exclusive?
No.
Okay. Is there any multiplayer in this game?
Negative.
Can this game be played flat?
No. That's 5.
I don't know why I'm thinking Swordsman. Has this developer made other PSVR 1 or PSVR 2 games?
Don't think so.
Nope, not Swordsman.
Interesting. Is this game first person?
Yes.
Would have been really good if he said no.
I'm being so good, you guys. I'm giving you direct answers. Aren't you proud of me?
Does this game have does it have a focus on melee combat?
It does not have a focus on melee combat.
Okay.
Is this a puzzle game?
I think it qualifies as a puzzle game, yes.
Puzzle game that's on PSVR 1 and PSVR 2, single player, VR only. It takes place in first person. AJ, Wes, I'm going to go down the room route. Does this have full locomotion?
I'm going to say no. This does not have full locomotion. That's 10.
Okay.
I don't think so.
And this developer has not done other games.
Right.
Is this game part of a known IP?
Good question.
I didn't know it, but it is part of a known IP.
What other games could it be other than The Room? Let's narrow this down. It's
Five Nights at Freddy's. But wait, I mean, there's been more than one of those now, so
right.
Couldn't be that.
Okay, does this have node-to-node teleportation?
Who wants to know?
I think Looper, the underground Gamecat, specifically wants
Looper? Oh, okay. Yes, it does have no teleportation. You're good, Looper.
What do you think, Wes? I can't think of anything other than The Room. It's on PSVR1 and PSVR2. Node-to-node teleportation. First person.
Go ahead, say it and
Puzzle
lose.
game. Does it? Okay, hey, let's ask a very specific question. Does this have a tiered hint system?
Like it's crying?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm asking. Does
Like
the
it's
hint
a
system
sad
cry?
hint system?
Yeah.
Like bad? So bad that it makes you want to tear up? Is that what you mean by that?
Your
I don't understand the
answers are so bad it's making me want to tear up. Does it have a
Okay.
does it have a hint system with
does.
low, medium, and
does
high hints?
It does have a tiered hint system.
Oh my god, is it The Room VR Dark Matter? Oh my god.
Maybe. Releasing on 7/27 of 2023, as well as originally on PSVR 1 7/27/23. I'm so confused. It is, of course, you are correct, Brian. I think you got this one almost by yourself. The Room VR, a dark matter, a puzzle escape room game.
Listen, Wes was here for emotional support. Okay,
Hey, my questions helped Brian come to the conclusion that he came to.
that's right.
As a matter of fact, you pretty much gave it away when you said that you didn't know that it was part of a series, but it is part of a series. Like, that's a pretty specific clue,
Very
actually.
specific. Very specific.
Yeah. I mean, this wasn't supposed to be a super hard one, but great job, guys. Great job.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. Make sure you go subscribe to AJ and Wes over at their respective channels. The links for that is in the description below, and also all over the front page of the Without Parole channel. Also, come join our Discord. Click the link in the description. Be part of these conversations that happen 24/7 over there, and keep me from being productive. I'm definitely going to be there after the show while I work on the Stride review. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to everybody who supports the channel. All the mods are amazing. RyPop for getting this up on podcast services of your choice. Rody, the Gamecat Army General, putting timestamps into the show after the fact. Everybody who supports the channel financially, not just over here by being a member, but also over on patreon.com/withoutparolegames. Thank you, everybody who tips during the show. Really keeping the lights on. You don't even fucking know what a difference it makes. Also, like, really, we're just so happy that you're here and part of the community and contributing in the chat during the show, keeping us entertained while we try to keep you entertained. But we know there's a whole other group of you that just sit back and watch the show and don't say a goddamn word. We know you're out there. And we love you just as much. Here it is, you guys. Your clip of the week from Tree.
Gunnar says, don't make a fucking noise. You hear me?
He's there.
Alright, don't make a fucking noise. Gunnar says, don't make a single noise. This is not fucking hard, guys. Alright, Gunnar says, don't make a peep. Why? Why did they ruin it? Kick him! Get him out!
Superstorm, me kicking.
AJ, let's cue the cat. Shit, I wasn't prepared for that.
Get the motherfucking cat break, because I want to say see you guys next week. Maybe. To Mark, Poppet, Pringles, Leaf. Thank you, man. Chris Fordenberry. With his mother's maiden's name of Fordenberry. Lieutenant Cohen. Scott, the PSVR Gamecat for life. I saw you say you got Legendary Tales earlier. Let's go, homie. Blind Eye. Gamecat Behemoth. Laters. The Goob 95 says that's me. Cerebral Frost. The SPVR Gamecat. Chris. I already said you. Izzard. In the House Tonight. Random Toxie. The Fuel Map and Downshift to Gamecat. Oh, makes me want to play some more Gran Turismo 7. Whee, so good. Secrets of Cheers, man. Good to see you. Looper, the Underground Gamecat, my brother from another mother. Thank you for participating in 20 questions. He says also, the win streak continues. It's 11 in a row so far. Woo-hoo! The record being 16 for that. Yeah, I guess we need to step up our game.
We're on our way.
Rad Boy in the house tonight. Gamecat Behemoth, Dan Kiefer, Kill us out, baby! Guys, on fist bump to you. Game, I keep repeating names. Out of heaven, babe! D-Cat, allergic game cat. Thank you so much, my friend. Hooked Worm, the Hoosier game cat. Phil Peepee, the game cat. Dr. Who? Dr. You, sir. Ben Schroeder, Chaos in the house tonight. Vince Virtua, Roman Plays. I don't know who I've already said. Markio, the Sleepless Night Underground Game Cat Elite Name Squad in the house. Awesome Tatum. When are we gonna play some Crossfire? I long for this day to come back to us. Heavy Brett AI, good to see you, man. Corey, all of you, thank you so much. Have a wonderful night.
Don't you want to know what happened on this day without Parole history? 3 years ago, May 14th, 2021.
I do.
Yes, you do. Let's check it out. Here it is. Top 10 worst PSVR games. You can tell when we're running out of things to talk about because we generally don't like to focus on the bad stuff. But so many people kept asking us to do the worst game list. It's so bad that I don't even recognize most of the games in this thumbnail.
I do actually. It took me a second and then it clicked.
What's right on
left
the
is Boxing Apocalypse.
Oh my god, that's fucking right. Oh.
Yeah, that's Boxing Apocalypse. The middle is Heavy Fire Red Shadow.
Oh my god, yeah, you're right. It's so bad.
And the right is
Coaster.
Roller Coaster or
Just
Coaster?
regular old Coaster, I think.
Coaster.
Which was like the roller coaster that takes place in like regular old boring household and rooms and shit.
I wonder what number one was. I wonder if it was the game that we shall not speak of.
What's the game?
All I remember is
it had to be. I don't know. I think this might have been before Fungus in My Garden came out. I think 2021.
Yeah,
I think it was like a real late gen game. Yeah, but Boxing Apocalypse just really one of the worst games I've ever played. Even the people that worked on that game came out in droves and were like, yeah, it was a scam. We never got paid for our work on it. Like the dude just scammed us and then tried to sell you a unfinished game.
Yeah,
amazing.
That is an awful situation. Wow, that is so bad on so many levels.
Yep.
Looper says Vrog.
See, at least
Vrog was pretty bad.
Vrog was at least playable though. Like it wasn't good.
Yeah.
But at least it was playable and it worked. Like Boxing Apocalypse didn't work. Fungus in My Garden was like, yeah, just broken, didn't work. Looper says good dog, bad dog. I mean,
Hey, we don't speak of that game.
Oh, we don't talk about that one? That's the one.
No.
My God.
Well, Weeping Doll.
Hey. I like Weeping Doll.
Brian likes bad horror games.
I do like bad horror games, but Weeping Doll, I thought actually was pretty good in the headset and had some fun little puzzles. Definitely, I wish it had full locomotion. Would have been way more immersive, but yeah.
Maybe we should do a so bad they're good episode, like games that were so bad we actually had fun with them because they were so funny and entertaining. How bad they were.
We'd have to go pretty far back because these days when a game sucks, I just get mad.
Yeah, it really sucks, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, luckily there's lots of other good games on sale right now. Save your money on Stride.
Roman Play says, I've never played any bad PSVR 1 games, and I have you guys to thank for that. Aw, thanks, Roman Plays.
Let's go.
All right, let's get out of here. We love you guys. Meow and stuff.
Bye.
Bye.